Master, you there?
Well, I called you, so I think that's fairly obvious I would be there, yeah.
Just a reminder, in June.
No.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Con Castorberus. We will have a room for the podcast, according to Matthew.
Better give me the date then, didn't you? Just in case I haven't got a wedding.
The wedding of River Song?
Oh, Jesus.
Let me get it. If we don't, I'm not going because I'm really not interested.
Let's hope it's not the 18th of June because that's the Isle of Wight Festival.
It is. Hang on.
Dear, that's a shame.
Said it was the 10th and 11th.
I think it's the 10th and 11th. Yes. So it will be the 11th.
11th is possible. It's Kyle's birthday that day, but that's doable. Concasterburus. There goes. In the diary. All right. Okay.
Yeah, they're bringing Eric Roberts back again, and I'm sorry, I just can't get enthusiastic.
Yeah.
He's a nice chap. Very entertaining, but I wouldn't want to meet him twice.
Well, are we going?
Not if I went out my way to do that.
If Matthew can bring him in to the podcast, are we going to talk to him?
What? Eric Roberts?
Yes.
Oh dear, I don't know. He's a bit exuberant.
Yeah.
Who is?
Oh, there. Robert is there. I was just about to tell you.
I hung up and then I
don't know.
You're hung up.
Joined again.
He's very hyperactive. Not Robert. Eric Roberts. Very hyperactive. I don't know.
I avoided him at the one concave that he was at.
Why? Because he's so loud.
I believe Matthew was unable to bring him to us or something.
Who's that?
Eric Roberts.
Yeah, why were you avoiding him?
Because I don't particularly like him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you said he was all right.
Anything in particular?
You said he was all right, Kirby. That's why I actually bought a photo with him at London Comic Con because you on your sort of recommendation, and I found him to be quite engaging and funny when I met him.
Okay.
But there you go.
Well, I didn't meet him at that one, so.
But he was a bit. Like I said, I did get the feeling he's very sort of hyper, you know.
Exuberant.
Anyway, I suppose we better get going. Everyone's here now. I don't know what's happening with Ben because I haven't actually.
Everyone.
Ben's probably celebrating.
Everyone.
Yeah. What about Debbie?
Everyone.
Debbie has made an excuse. So
another one.
She's sort of having the same success rate by not appearing on the show deliberately than she has been appearing on the show as well. So.
Have you checked the recording levels, Master?
Yeah, I have actually. So let's get going.
Did you have something to mention, Kirby?
What?
I already did. That's why we were talking about Eric Roberts.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway.
He's the guest at the convention.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
APP Services, Lavazzi and book1.co.uk present the 20 megabyte Doctor Who podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 20 megabyte Doctor Who podcast, episode 557. I'm Adam, and look into my eye. And here is Robert Haynes.
And I turned around and they were all wearing eye patches.
Mary Lang.
I had an argument with Cleopatra, dreadful woman.
I do apologise about that. And Kirby Bartlett Sloan.
This is absurd. Other worlds, carnivorous skulls, talking heads. I don't know why I'm listening to you.
This week we're going to be after we have a week off. Did we do it last week?
No.
No, good.
No.
So I've got things I can talk about I've seen, watched and read, which is quite interesting later on in the show. So this week it's the Wedding of River Song. Now I'm going to just play in the background. Hopefully Ben may join us. You never know because he just shows up, doesn't he?
Yes.
It's a bit like the old days, in the Waltons when and anybody who wanted to show up in the Walsons' house would just walk straight in their house. And well, not anyway. So we get. I'll skip past the previously on Doctor Who scenario where they go and show basically the little snippets of highlights of the whole series, and make a specific emphasis on the Tesseract, I may add.
Yes,
and then we get
I
this very,
noticed that.
very weird scene of London with sort of steampunk balloons with cars hanging off them, and what else we've got? Parks where children are playing, and there are pterodactyls flying around, and signs saying "Don't feed
And
the
it's not like
pterodactyls."
that.
Pardon?
It's not like that.
What's not like that?
Pterodactyls flying around.
Yeah.
What are you on about?
I think
The sign says pterodactyls are vermin.
And I have a feeling they picked up that animation from Torchwood, the pterodactyl flying around in the hub.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Then we have a Roman soldier parked in the chariot in a lay-by by some traffic lights. He could be just someone in cosplay, to be fair. So.
Yeah.
And the sign that says War of the Roses. Hang on. War of the Roses. Hang on, I skipped past it and missed it. And going back 15 seconds is a lot of time, actually, when you're trying to read something. War of the Roses enters second year. Londinium Guide. And then the very sad bit I found quite sad is the BBC Breakfast scene where Bill Turnbull is interviewing Charles Dickens. Of course, we would have noticed initially the Charles Dickens bit because it's a reprisal role for Simon, the bloke who plays
And
Simon
Cowell.
No, Simon Cowell's the bloke from America's Got Talent. I know what you mean. Right, no, yeah, him. But the bloke interviewing him is a much loved broadcaster in Britain called Bill Turnbull, who died of cancer last year.
One. Yeah.
Pardon?
And we get to see an American one.
You do?
Yeah.
You don't get Bill Turnbull?
Meredith Vieira.
Yeah, Meredith Vieira.
Well,
Simon Callow is who you're thinking of.
Simon Callow, that's it. But isn't don't we get to see the next one after that as an American one anyway, isn't it? We get to see that. And then it's Buckingham Palace with SPQR flags on it, and pterodactyls, of course, flying around in the distance. And the Emperor, being obviously Winston Churchill, who would obviously we'd be dead by now, but who's being sort of fanned down. Of course, the Doctor from the Silurian episode, and find that all the clocks have stopped at 2 minutes past 5. But the Emperor seems to be aware of this. It's the only problem I've got with the whole thing, by the way. And I'm going to say it now because
I have a lot of trouble.
No. This is the only major problem because it's science fiction fantasy TV show. Yeah, right. Or the clocks.
I have problems with them.
Oh, for goodness sake! Shush! We can talk about that later. I want to say it now because it's relevant to this scene. All the clocks stopped at this time, 2 minutes past 5. So everywhere in this time bubble, the clocks have stopped at 2 minutes past 5. Now, what that implies is that all the clocks have stopped, but time itself wouldn't have stopped like that because everybody would be paused, wouldn't they? They wouldn't be walking around talking.
Exactly.
So this is a science fiction. So this is a science, no fiction, science cock-up. To be fair, it makes absolutely
Stephen Moffat cock up.
Yeah, but this makes absolutely no sense because it's no science.
Still alive and walking around.
Yeah,
and
it makes no sense, and it's a bit stupid. To be fair, I don't mind.
That's why I picked my quote.
We've had time bubbles and time loops in Doctor Who, which made sense because people were sort of going back to the beginning, start again. Yeah. But having alleged the time stopping at 2 minutes past 5, fine. That means they'd be stopped. They wouldn't be moving, they'd be stopped. So all that's actually happened here is all the clocks have stopped and they won't move, but everything else is going on in a sort of a time loopy thing. I don't know what's going on. Either way, it's a bit stupid.
How do they know what tick-tock means if the clocks don't tick-tock?
But didn't the Emperor say that? Emperor Churchill, who's a cousin of mine, by the way, Kirby. I don't know if you're aware of that. He's a ninth cousin. Anyway, and of course he asks the soothsayer to come along, and guess who the soothsayer is? Yes, it's Beardy Doctor.
Who?
Beardy Doctor. In some rags. They could have got some clothes, to be fair. And then we have a scene of that is picking up from the what's the last story called with James Corden in it? Oh God.
Closing time.
Closing time.
Where he's
just
put
said
on
that.
he's put on the Stetson, and he's now talking into a Dalek, and ripping the poor Dalek apart so he can get into the data core of the Dalek.
Yeah, on the Confidential, Moffat was saying, I didn't plan to put the Dalek in there, but it just occurred to me that I could.
And then he goes to see some dodgy people, and his payment or his proof of identity is a Dalek eye. He goes to see Mark Gatiss. Oh no, not initially. So some bloke with a sort of, not an eye patch. It's a silence sort of deflector.
Can I admit something here?
No,
I did not know at the time that was Mark Gatiss.
not yet. He's not in there yet. This is a different bloke. Looks a bit like Johnny Depp, actually. The bloke who he initially speaks to.
It was all over Doctor Who news stuff that it was Mark Gatiss, so
It was indeed.
surprised
Anyway.
you didn't know.
Then he has a chat with the Tesseract, his old Tesseract friends, who ask if they can do anything to help. Hint, hint. Then he goes to play chess with Mark Gatiss, and it's interesting to note that the Queen is sort of electrified, and the Doctor's already won the game, and oh God, there's a crowd. It's is it televised? No, televised chess. I don't know. Really cool, actually. That sort of plasma stuff going around the Queen figure. I'm just looking at the extras on the balcony watching. One of them.
Yeah, they have some
very
close-ups,
interested.
some good close-ups of them in Confidential.
Was that? Anyway, so the Doctor's trying to get some information. Eventually, he's taken down into the catacombs. Where another stupid thing. I get that. I don't mind the head still being alive, whatever. But when they sort of turned to the right, as though how they do that without muscles, just saying, how they turn to the right, they could have done it through kinetic energy. It's a science fiction fantasy TV show, but that was a bit silly. But it's when they turned, it was sort of a strange juddering sort of thing that made it look like they were being turned with somebody's hand. It was a bit crap.
Not very smooth.
But then in 1970s Doctor Who, it would have been acceptable if they were going to do that scene then. And in a box is our old friend of the shows, friend of the convention indeed, Simon Fisher-Becker, reprising, probably for the last time, I don't know, his role as Dorian Moldovar. And
Isn't he in at least one more story?
he may well be, I can't remember.
I think so.
Okay, well if he is, he is, he isn't, he isn't. Anyway, the Doctor sort of hijacks Dorian's head and takes him into the TARDIS.
And then we have that wonderful scene.
But at this stage, I'm thinking that this might already be the Tesseract Doctor, because the scene we saw later on, the Tesseract has said, "Is there anything we can do?" And he walked out the room at the end of the episode. We see that scene
I
again.
agree with you.
When he walks back in. So this is, I feel this may be the Tesseract Doctor. And he takes
The Doctor's inside, so.
and then we see yet another scene of the Doctor's death date on the screen. They really have sort of rubbed that in. But I'm feeling that a lot of the stuff in this episode is for people who haven't been bothered to watch Doctor Who for the whole series, so they're just doing these little recaps for people who just watched the finale.
Well, it's also to explain a completely nonsensical plot.
Okay. I think it's hard. It's difficult for a situation which is unfeasible in regards to science, because that's the way Doctor Who works. Because a lot of the science side of things, it could happen because it's you think, well, it's another universe, blah 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 blah, But when there's time, I mean, I think that what's his name again, Mr. Professor Hawking, if he had seen this episode, probably would have liked it. He would have thought it was stupid because of that time aspect, the science side of it. So there's certain science aspects that don't work, full stop. I can understand fantasy in regards to some of the things we had, like the Mind Robber back in the day. It's a fantasy episode. This is a bit fantasy, but it's a bit of what? Sort of
Lost the plot?
Yeah, there's just that. There's a couple elements that completely don't work for me. But some people might think, it's just a bit of fun, you know. That's time. That's how time works. They just stop the clocks. That stops time, you know. But anyway, so in this scene, the It's Man Doctor. I think I seem to remember calling him the It's Man Doctor when we previously reviewed this episode. Is still advising the Emperor Churchill about this, that, and the other. And I love also the scene where he's chatting to Dorian in the TARDIS, but Dorian's sort of been put upside down, so his head's on the side, and he's saying, "Oh, my nose hurts." That's quite good.
Yeah, but that's also where the doctor calls the nursing home and finds out about Brigadier.
Yes, I remember at the time it was.
The interesting thing about the Brigadier reference is that there's no attempt to explain to people who maybe never watched the classic series.
True.
But it's a great throwback, for those who do know the classic series.
I think would have been nice, Mary, bearing in mind in the next series of Doctor Who we're introduced to Kate Stewart. Instead of this nurse from the care home calling the Doctor and telling them that it had been Kate, but we didn't know that she was going to be such a big character.
I'm
being
sure
a family
talk
member.
Later about how about this rumor of a spin-off Kate Stewart series.
I don't remember that being mentioned.
I don't hear any. You mean like on audio plays?
No, Disney Plus.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think that. I think that'll be a while. So they'll probably do it because she's a Redgrave.
I know they're talking about a lot of spin-offs, but I'm thinking that they're going to have so many, if that's true, that they're just going to kind of water it down to nothing.
Do you know what I'd like Disney Plus to do? I mean, a lot of Disney Plus series, have at least 12 episodes. I know some have 6, but like Mandalorian and whatnot. But they go back to a minimum of 12, 13 episodes to cater for that side of things. And instead of doing spin-offs, just put more episodes of Doctor Who on. Maybe do a couple of spin-offs here and there.
Yeah, we'll just have to see who ends up with the rights. I mean, is HBO Max going to hold the ones that they have right now, or are they going to shift over to Disney, or what?
Or if all of New Who is going to move over to Disney.
Yeah.
Well, not be on the BBC. I think that's highly unlikely because the BBC, it's BBC breadwinner, isn't it?
They've already stated that in Britain it's going to be on the BBC.
That's fine.
You have nothing to worry about.
It's made by the BBC. Of course, it's going to be on the BBC. Anyway, made by the BBC with Disney Plus as a sort of co-producer, a bit like the old Doctor Who. One of the series was made by BBC Canada, wasn't it? I think as a co-producer. I can't remember now. Way back.
Well, Doctor Who has died down so precipitously in the States.
I love that word.
Who's going to be around to watch the new series?
I'll tell you what. No, Sheldon and Howard will watch it, and I think Raj was quite a big fan as well. And I'm going to give for that brilliant word you just said, Mary. Don't know what it means, but it was a great word. Right then. Right, so the Doctor's just been delivered the news of the Brigadier's passing again. It was romantic. But they probably could have done it in a slightly different way. But at least they did it, I suppose. But that's the thing that apparently made the Doctor give up on his quest to not die. And deliver the blue envelopes to his friends. But like we said just a few seconds ago, Kirby, this is probably the Tesselector Doctor. Because he's already had that meeting with unless they're jumbling everything up so much just to confuse us, which could happen as well. Anyway, see, by this time he's gone to give these. No, he hasn't. He's gone to see the bloke that looks a little bit like Johnny Depp. Then we see a few flashes here and there of him going back to be the It's Man Doctor, and then delivering letters to his friends, and then we see the scene, in is it Utah, where they did the filming?
Yes.
Hello, anybody there?
Why is it all asleep?
I was going to say. Oh, well, I'm going to say it's Utah because if they would have interrupted me.
Why would you think it wouldn't be?
I'm just asking. I said, is it Utah? Got absolutely no answer whatsoever.
I said yes. You didn't hear me.
You did.
Anyway.
You did say yes.
So yeah, then we see. I'm just skipping through. Then we see basically a recap of the Doctor's death and him talking to River, and now we actually see the conversation because we either see him I die, River, and I forgive you, and River said, I can't control it, it's the suit. So essentially it wasn't the River that was doing it, was the suit that was doing it. I can't control it. So you could have put anybody in that suit.
Something that I noticed this time around is that she's shooting him with the fingers of the suit, which I didn't notice before. It's not a gun. Somehow I thought it was some sort of ray gun or something. Mm-hmm. But there's a shot sound.
A Raymond gun, not a ray gun. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, so there she kills the Doctor and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, he doesn't kill the Doctor, does she? She just a few flashes and the Doctor makes some funny faces and realises that River's messing about. And he's not happy because it's a fixed point in time and this is creating this whole sort of paused time. And now the soothsayer, i.e. Its Man Doctor, has now got a spear and some slightly posher robes. But he's also got some little marks on his arm to show that they've seen silence. And then a load of friends turn up, including extremely hot-looking Amy, i.e. Karen Gillan. Extremely hot with her little... eye patch, and she
I wonder if Mr. M's going to
I think he may well mention this. She shoots the Doctor with a little taser type gun and he wakes up on a train. Again, that would please Sheldon. I love the colour palette for these train scenes. It's a beautiful colour palette. And of course Amy sort of half remembers bits and bobs because all over of course she plays along with the Doctor a bit, pretend she doesn't, but there's lots of pictures that she's drawn of the Doctor and things that they've seen. The Doctor then shaves off his beard but leaves his hair nice and long. I quite liked his hair like that, to be fair.
I didn't like his hair like that.
No, I didn't either. I like it.
Hang on, who's in charge?
You're outnumbered.
Yes.
But there is a person, I have a little conversation and recap and remember their friends, etc., etc. But who comes in who isn't remembered by Amy? It's Rory. He's now almost like a PA for Amy. And the picture, I'm trying to work out the picture that Amy's drawn of Rory and who it actually is.
I have no idea. It's not him.
I think it's a picture of me. Hang on, I just want to see. I think it's a picture of me when I was 21. Anyway, so off we go, moving on a little bit. There's some lovely CGI scenes of trains travelling through pyramids and through strange buildings and pyramids with Area 52 with a US flag on. And
another bit of nonsense.
Oh, it's a bit of fun. That's fun, Kirby. I quite like those scenes. Because it's a fantasy aspect, I can accept that. It's when they try to do science, obviously time is a science-based thing, where it's going to be, you know what I mean? But fantasy, fine. What is the programme, Kirby? It's
listen.
Science fiction fantasy. So that's fantasy. Yes, sorry, Robert.
They had think of Logopolis, right? They had people chanting numbers, and that's supposed to be.
Yeah, but that's science because that is to do with.
That's what I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I had fewer problems with Logopolis than I had with this.
Well, I won't have problems with Logopolis because it was written by a scientist who understood this sort of mathematical stuff.
Scientist?
Well, I'm saying it's a scientist. Again, Robert, who's in charge?
Is that going to be your mantra today?
Well, I think I'm going to have to reel you lot in. You seem to forget. Right then, I've forgotten to load up my priority jingles folder, so I'm just doing that rather cleverly.
We need to start reminding you to do that too.
Did I? Is that one of your lists of jobs? No.
No,
okay.
It's not.
Okay. Stuff's coming through on the live feed. At least someone's paying attention. Right, just trying to find my jingle. Let's put it in alphabetical order. Right. So we got Ian Kirk who says, "Sorry, I forgot to do feedback this week." Right, Kirby.
Captain.
Time to issue a punishment.
What?
What?
Oh dear.
You can dig out whatever he said last time. I'm sure he did it. I didn't listen to us last time.
That's feasible. Well done, Kirby. And Terry
Do you need
Miles.
the episode number so you can find it, or the date?
I don't have to do that. I'll just do a search on my Gmail. Tim, not sorry, where are we? Oh no, Terry Miles. Good evening, everybody. Isn't that a song by Slade? Oh no, that's Merry Christmas, everybody, isn't it? And thanks for being so quick. He says, this is Tim Drury, by the way, Adam seems to have forgotten his top hat. Perhaps it's a casual wedding. Huh? My top hat? Oh, because it's the wedding of the Doctor, or the Tesselector and River Song. So she actually married the Tesselector.
Give it away.
What?
Yeah, it looks like she marries a Tesselector.
Yeah, thank you. That's better, Mary.
But the Doctor is in control of the Tesselector, so it's really...
Yes, okay. So he's sort
of... so it makes me ask... So
it's like a drive-in wedding then, Robert, that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a wedding by proxy.
Since time was all mixed together, they should have found Elvis to officiate.
Yeah. The funny thing, on the lot of the stuff coming through on the live feed, something came through and then it disappeared. I wonder if that's anything to do with it being 2 minutes past 5.
Weird.
Oh, weird. I might have to check on another... it's back there now. It's back. It's back. Ian Kirk says, Hollywood did a tribute to this called Everything Everywhere All at Once. They did it a bloody sight better if that's the case.
There you go.
And if Michelle Yeoh had been in this episode, that would have been even better. She could have played Madame Bavarian rather beautifully, I reckon. So anyway, we see lots of silences in fish tanks for some reason. I suppose so they could emulate the Ace scene when Ace's glass breaks inside the fish tank.
Right. It's theoretically that it was supposed to absorb their using electricity. It was all a ruse.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but Rory's real kick-ass in this story. And I love the fact that he's got that sort of beret on. He does look like a unit sort of soldier. I suppose. Anyway, moving forward, they've got Madame Kavarian imprisoned by sort of tying her to a chair, and after everything kicks off, the sort of eye patches start electrocuting and stuff like that, and because the silence sort of break out, like you say, it's a ruse, and the water starts leaking into the pyramid.
It's a trap.
And
it's a trap.
Yes, it is. And the Doctor and most of his friends are told to escape and escape, but Rory stays back to be the hero for a little while at least. While, to cut a longer story short, Amy kills Madame Kavarian. She deserved it, to be fair.
How mean!
Yeah, she deserved it. And anyway, they go to the top of the pyramid, and where what's the name again? The River Song, sorry, can marry the Doctor in a very romantic but quite enjoyable way. And of course, obviously, it's a nice scene to see Alex Kingston and Matt Smith, all that sort of screen presence. What do they call it when they sort of work really well? Chemistry. That's it. Chemistry on the top of the thing.
And they do.
And I do like the scene also when Amy and Rory arrive. Of course, River's parents there to be there as mother and father of the bride, or stepfather and stepmother. No, sorry, mother-in-law and father-in-law of the bride eventually, or of the groom. Oh, you know what I mean. It's very, very it's almost like the Peter Davison and David Tennant scenario, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, so they get married. Well, she marries a Tesselector, and then we see some more weird sort of flashes as everything undoes, and everything goes back to normal again. Yeah, feasible. The next scene, of course, is because the Doctor's dead. Basically, we're led to believe the Doctor's dead. Amy sat in the garden, and her daughter River has just come back from the Byzantium, saying, "You were there. You were so much younger," etc. It wasn't that much, only a couple of years.
What, 2 years?
Yeah. And then she's got a little secret about the Doctor, and she tells Amy, and she jumps around and goes all excited, and Rory comes out, "What's going on?" And they all jump around all really excited, because now we know the Doctor is in fact alive, and a hooded man looked like an extract from a series called The Traitors. As this hooded person, he comes and drops a box on a plinth, which is obviously the plinth where they picked up Dorian. So no, it's Dorian because he is moaning a lot. Yes.
Like, how much of the real Doctor have we seen all this time, or have we been seeing a tesselected Doctor?
Well, we saw from the cloud. Well, the tesselector came into it at the point in which the tesselector said to the Doctor, "Is there anything we can do to help?" And of course, initially we see the Doctor go away, and then this scene we see him come back and say, "Well, actually," and that's and of course he says to we see how he did it, sort of thing, and we see him saying, "Well, he's got a lie low from now on." That's that.
Not for very long.
No, it's true. It wouldn't be the same, but that's all right. Right. I've already gone over the bits I didn't like in regards to the science aspect of the story and the silly aspects of it, but most of this can be sort of swept under the fantasy sort of element of Doctor Who. I quite liked it, to be fair. I can see why people don't like it, because of the stupidity of it. There's a lot of stupidity in it, but it's balanced out. It's balanced out by some nice scenes with all our well-known characters, and I felt a certain expression. Is it Frances Barber who plays Madame Kavarian? Yes. It was a bit her sort of being in it. In the whole series, in fact, it's a bit of a waste of time. It didn't, she was so easily defeated in the end.
It didn't go anywhere, did it?
But that didn't bother me, to be fair. I think it was all about, for me, how the series ends up with the Doctor marrying River. Because obviously this all big. I know there's more to come, and also all the little side episodes we've seen, and the specials that the BBC did with Pond Life and. Sorry.
I said those were fun.
Yeah. So, and although all these little episodes sort of intermingle and tell little filler bits of the story of the Doctor and River Song, that's basically what this whole series is about. Yeah, the sideline is, the Doctor dies at, he doesn't die at this Lake Silencio. I mean, obviously he's not died, is he? We knew he wasn't going to die, but how did he get out of it, sort of thing. I don't mind that. Because I like River Song and I like Alex, and Ben not shouting at my ear, I was like, "Well, no, she doesn't." So it's nice to be able to express that I do love the concept of the character of River and her relationship with the Doctor and the love there. And it's weird because nobody really likes the Doctor having a love element in it, and I didn't really like the Eighth Doctor's love sort of with Grace, because I didn't think Grace was worthy of the Doctor's love in that way.
Right.
Maybe Rose, Rose for me was a teenager. It didn't quite. I can understand Rose falling in love with the Doctor. I didn't get a romantic sort of thing back from the Doctor. That didn't work for me. It did work for a lot of people.
The two of them would hang together and make their jokes and lean into each other. It seemed like the Doctor had a love towards her.
Yeah, but I'd liked it to have been a friendship love, like the Doctor has lots of friends and stuff like that.
Yes.
But for me, Rose was in love with the Doctor. Like Clara was in love with the Doctor. Then Clara fell in love with that other chap that died and whatnot. With River, it sort of feels right because of how River came into existence and the personality of River created by Alex Kingston. It just works. It's like the soulmate, if you like, of the Doctor, and it's not a human person, is it? Although it is, it isn't.
Right. She's
weird.
If not in a whole time.
It's almost like as another sort of representation of the TARDIS. Because did you notice that Idris was very similar to River?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that because it sort of explained a little bit of River's sassiness. I think because she's of the TARDIS, there's a bit of the TARDIS in her, and of course the Doctor's always been in love with the TARDIS. So there's loads of reasons why I love River Song and love the way she's woven in and out of the Doctor's life. So them getting married, I didn't have a problem with that. At the end of it, it's just a shame in some ways that they chose a story which was a little bit disjointed to do that.
A little bit,
but I actually do enjoy it. I haven't seen this story for all that time, and I was actually looking forward to watching it, and I did enjoy it. But obviously, you do notice certain things that are a bit stupid, and but that's fine. That's fine. If you enjoy the story, it doesn't really mind.
I think the same thing.
So, before I move on to Robert, it's Lillian Roma said, "Sorry, I'm late." Not good enough, Lillian. To be fair, I mean, you have a go at us, and then you can't be bothered to show up on time. Absolute disgrace. I'm sorry, Lillian, but I've got a sound effect for you. Yeah. Oh, I would have if the computer would play it. Thank you. Right then. So, Robert, what did you think?
I'm pretty much with Kirby on this one. Even though I haven't
well, you don't know what I think yet.
I think we can guess.
I've dropped hints.
Well, you've been broadcasting it all the way through.
Go on then, Robert.
No, I just think, I haven't seen it since I saw it all those years ago, and I just wasn't that impressed by it this time. I mean, I had some good moments. I sort of disagree with the romance kind of aspect, as I don't really like that in Doctor Who. I just prefer it more to be about the stories than a romantic love story kind of thing, which is that what's really turned out to be. But yeah, I mean, Alex Kingston and Matt Smith, they had good chemistry together. And not much I can really say about it. Wasn't too engaged with it. And it seems to be, I mean, I do remember at the time sort of wondering, how does the Doctor get out of it? And then there was the thought, was he a ganger or was he...
That's what we were all thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
Because they, they threw up these things during the season, and I just did not think it was a Tesselector in the end, but it was. But I hate Moffat all the way through, smarmy saying, "Oh yes, the Doctor does die," and all this rubbish.
Yeah,
that's what I really hate. It's just comes
rule
off
number
as,
one: Moffat lies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So. On to the next season, series, I remember not particularly liking at the time. And I haven't seen since.
Yeah,
then.
It should be interesting getting to those.
Yeah,
and we know what's next. The worst of the Christmas specials.
No, this one's quite good.
I didn't mind it that much.
Hang on.
The worst, I don't know.
Oh, is this the one with the wooden creatures in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably right. Then I thought it was the other one.
The wardrobe.
No, the Doctor, the witch. No, for goodness sake. Sorry,
the one where where the Doctor falls from orbit and doesn't get killed.
Doesn't regenerate.
He was killed from.
Yeah.
Well, that's happened a few times. He's fallen from great heights and not got done in. Do you remember the scene in The End of Time when he fell through the roof of that thing and landed on the concrete?
But then falling from a radio telescope can.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Maybe because the scarf broke his neck. Anyway, are you done, Robert?
Yes, I'm finished, yeah.
Right then, Kirby.
Apparently 12 years ago, I thought this was good. My opinion has changed. This was rubbish. This is absolute total rubbish with a few good bits and bobs in it. But
what did you like?
I liked a lot of the bringing back the Churchill and Dickens. I liked bringing them back. I didn't like how they were used. There was some of the things I absolutely loved the tribute to the Brigadier, of course. But other than that, this was a complete waste of time. I don't know why I liked it 12 years. It was Doctor Who, and of course, yes, all Doctor Who is better than anything else, so I'll give it that. And there is no bad Doctor Who is still good to watch.
Even the Time Lash,
Yes.
Time Lash is
the
good.
Web
It's got-
Planet.
Yes, I like
Yeah,
Web Planet.
they're
Go back and
okay.
listen. I like Web Planet.
They're not good
Hold
in
your hat,
relation to
because
other Doctor
we're
Who
about to go
stories.
through we're going to be going through the 12th and 13th Doctors. So
Yeah.
We've got some real
we got
dogs
some
coming up.
got some real losers coming up.
Yeah, we've got some real losers, but we've got some great stuff coming up too. But this was if too bad Ben's not joining with us, because this was Moffat at his worst. It's just, he's just all bubbly about all his cleverness. And no.
Mary.
Yeah.
I don't think this is his worst.
Whereas Mary loved it.
By the way, I hope you noticed I did not interrupt you very much, Master.
What? Are you feeling all right?
No, it wasn't worth interrupting.
Oh, because I was right. It's basically what you're saying. Yeah. You done?
Oh,
Yes, I'm
my
glad.
Okay then. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves. What do you think of it then, Mary?
Well, of course we have the perspective of all the Doctor Who that's coming. So it's hard to just independently look at this one and just think it was awful, because it is Moffat at his most creative, and, which is not necessarily a compliment, but it does wrap up a lot of the story arcs that had been going on, which is unusual, because there's going to be story arcs coming up that are never resolved.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And when I saw it the first time, I think I must have hated it because I was so confused by so much of it. But this time, because I don't know, more focused on, like I said, all the arcs that are being, responded to and answered and all that. So I don't rate this as one of his worst. We've got worse coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I think we know now where they got all the skulls that they used in, was it Heaven Bent or Heaven Sent, whichever that one was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we see where all those skulls, probably got stored up and then reused. But I have a lot of questions when this one was done. One of them is one we've already addressed, like, did time really stop or did just the clock stop? Because they do refer to night, and all this. So we do know that things are moving on, even though clocks are always saying the same time. And my question, too, is did River really marry the Doctor, or did she marry Tesselecta?
Well, the Tesselecta was being controlled by the Doctor, so therefore it was a drive-through wedding. Well, I think I've accepted this.
To a real marriage. And then how many of the episodes from Day of the Moon have had the Doctor as a Tesselecta? And not really him, because they send. Is it the Doctor or is it the Tesselecta that they send out onto the water burning? What got destroyed?
Tesselecta.
That's the Tesselecta.
I would think the Tesselecta, but then the Tesselecta is back again, so it's like I don't know. I'm very confused about that.
Well, there's probably more than one Tesselecta, to be fair, so I'll give him that.
He does reference he was barely singed.
Okay, and then another question I have is, okay, so he marries River, but then he goes on to have a close romantic relationship with Clara. So how do we square that if he's married to someone?
Does he?
Because it was only Matt Smith's relationship with.
Yeah, he's going to go on to have, like I said, a romantic relationship with Clara. So how do you square that? How I don't know.
I don't remember him having a romantic relationship.
Fancy science fiction show.
Yeah, it's a fancy science fiction.
Yeah, he spends nights with Clara. He's naked in front of her. He does all this stuff that you'd only do with a very close romantic partner.
Okay.
Maybe the marriage laws are different on Gallifrey.
Yeah, maybe they are.
Yeah, but he was naked in front of Amy and Rory in the 11th hour.
You said he was naked?
In the 11th
he changed clothes in front of them.
Well, that's not actually being totally naked. But remember,
yes, it is.
He goes to that family dinner, and the clothes that they're supposedly seeing on them are only an illusion.
Oh, I've got
really
you.
naked.
Okay, that's.
And also in front of the river substitute, who's the head of the church.
I'm feeling that the world's naturists may disagree with you, Mary, that being naked in front of people is not necessary for romantic reasons. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
That's okay. But so I found this one more engaging than I have for a while, because I haven't seen it for how many years? 2011 till now. That's when I last saw it. So,
me too.
For me, it was like watching it for the first time. So part of it, like I said, was very satisfying, but another part of it just raised a whole bunch more questions for me. So I'm kind of in the middle on this one.
It's really weird when you say it's 13 years since we watched it. And there's certain aspects of it that I remembered quite clearly. In fact, most of it, to be fair. To think that I haven't watched it for 13 years,
I've forgotten it though.
It feels as if my worries about getting Alzheimer's should be unfounded. That I remembered so much of it after all that time. Sorry, carry on.
Now I know why I forgot though.
You forgot, did you?
I remembered the whole thing.
I did not.
I did as it went along, but yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah, there were moments I remembered, but not the whole thing. Yeah.
Is that you done, Mary?
Done. That's me done.
Okay, I think it's better time to move on to Kirby's, bit where he does this humongous amount of feedback that we've got.
We actually got something a few minutes ago. Well, Andy said, "I'll make sure my tuxedo is pressed." Because the wedding.
I always warned him about doing the ironing while naked, because you could always iron something,
I haven't ironed in 15, 20 years, so I don't know.
No wonder your clothes are all crinkly then.
Yeah. Neil James, The Wedding of River Song. It's with this series finale that I pretty much gave up trying to follow what was going on in Moffat's Doctor Who. I never stopped watching, and I never will, but this era just isn't really for me. Yeah. And this kind of carries on for me until the end of the Capaldi run. In some ways, I even prefer the Chibnall era. What?
That's silly.
That's not to say there aren't
That's
things
just
to
silly.
enjoy.
Come on. Might as well say you like the Pip and Jane Baker era. Don't be so silly.
See, this is what I was saying a second ago. He says that's not to say there aren't things to enjoy about every episode, but I find these ones very hard to follow and very hard to love. I adore both Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, but the scripts and storylines and arcs all just seem so smugly pleased with themselves.
Yes.
And I agree with him. I said basically the same thing, and I did not see this comment from him. I was saying the same thing. Sorry for this little semi-rant, but I felt the need to explain why I can't think of anything interesting to say about these stories. Sorry. As for this one, it's quite fun, and I'm not keen on River, but I can't be arsed to try and follow the plot. 3 stars out of 5.
Is that it?
That's it. That's all we got.
Okay. So I have sent over to Robert something to read.
Yes. Do you like me to start now?
Well, as I've just introduced you to do it, that might be a good idea,
Okay.
Robert. That's normally how it works.
All right. Oh dear, the Doctor's time is running out and he's not even married. Well, River is single. What is the question? It's 5:02 on the 22nd of April. All the time and everything is happening at once. Well, it is a science fiction fantasy. Oh, well, you know the rest. The Tesselector, the Doctor's got another hat. Typical. Watch your step, there are traps everywhere. I wonder if the traps might come into it later. Oh, one of them did. Funny one from Dorian Maldovar. Give it to me straight, Doctor. How bad is it?
Yeah, I like
that too. The Brig is dead. Nice they mentioned him after Nicholas Courtney's death. Something else I thought, which tied in nicely, is that this is a story all about eye patches, and Nick Courtney always had his famous Inferno eye patch anecdote. Hence my thing.
Your non-quote, yes.
Yeah. So I thought that tied in nicely. River shooting hats off again. Fixed points in time can be rewritten. Dope. River boo-booed. Oh, look, that's Amy, and she's not looking for Rory. Not very well, though. Yeah. She thinks he looks like somebody else. Amy thinks Rory is Mr. Hottie and wants to do texting and scones. Riversong didn't get it all from you, Madam Kavarian. Yes, and I'm a mother-in-law. Oh. It was nice they explained it all in the end. The question you've been running from all your life, Doctor Who? Doctor Who?
Yeah, that's a bit irritating. What's it, Doctor Who?
That was very irritating.
I know. All in all, a good tale. We enjoyed it. Next up, a Christmas special. It must be there's snow on the ground. Stay safe, everybody. Linda and Terry.
Must remind me that next time I have to go to the doctors for whatever ailment, I must call the doctor Doctor. See how they like it.
Doctor.
Right, I'm looking back in the archives of feedback. I did find something. I certainly didn't find anything from who we're looking for. It was Ian Kirk. Nothing from Ian Kirk in relation to this story, but I did get something from a chap called Richard Culp. The first couple of paragraphs are just relating to the 20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast of whatever it was in October 2011. But he does say, looking on the Wedding of River Song, I have to say I enjoyed it. That is his most important thing about the show, really. Did you enjoy it? Put aside plot holes and writing and who's in charge, and look at the enjoyment factor. If we get wrapped up the right way in all the other things, we may question ourselves as to why we do what the show. I think that was a mistake, Harry wrote that one in mind. This is why I try to hold off the critical look at the stories as they air. I like to give my mind some time to process and mull over what was seen, and then later come back to debate how everything played out. That is why I enjoyed the reviews of the older stories so much. I feel you can look more critically when time has passed on the episodes.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
In the end, it is purely an opinion you give. Looking at the direction that Moffat took the show in, I have to say that I'm thankful for what he did. While it might not have been the way to take the show, it did explore the show was capable of what the show was capable of doing and could do. This text is very small, by the way. This is why I'm struggling.
Can't you make it bigger?
Shush. There was no way for anyone to say that this is the definitive way to have to go. In the end, it is a gamble that is taken. While I did enjoy the RTD's direction, I felt the show was being shackled to a set routine. Each series had to top the last. It was always bigger threat that spanned more and more of the universe. How can you top each series with bigger and better threat and not end up scratching your head wondering how to do this? Moffat broke the chain and dared to take the show in a new direction with a breath of new life into the show. And to breathe new life into the show. Has it paid off? Well, I hold my final answer until later, but I will thank him for trying. After all, I am not an executive producer of the show, and I'm certainly not anywhere near to the level of writer he is. I can express opinions that he can consider, but that is all I can do. Will he listen? Well, that is up to him, and only time will tell. I look forward to your next podcast. Keep up the good work. Well, you didn't listen to any more, did you, Richard? Yes, Richard Culp from 13 years ago. I think he got put off by Robert. That's what I'm going to say.
Robert is always so negative. I don't know.
He is, actually.
Always.
I got this one. It might be quite funny because it's got the name Jeff Waddle attached to it. He probably doesn't listen to the podcast anymore anyway, so we won't offend him. Mind you, he's not very easily offended, is he? Jeff Waddle says,
No.
I think most people enjoyed this. This is probably when he was still being called Jeff Waddell. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I think most people enjoyed this episode. I generally thought it was garbage. It was just a rehash of things before. The scene from Wedding of River Song in the... Hang on, we are talking about the right episode, aren't we? I don't know what he's talking about now because it says no subject, but the Reading River song is mentioned, so I'm going to carry on. And this is 2015. Huh?
What?
Oh, and I'm going to carry on what he says. In the challenge between the Doctor and the Challenger, and don't start me on the dialogue. It was cringeworthy, a continuation of the cringeworthy "Hey Mickey" Tony Basil joke. Asylum of the Daleks recreation, and that episode was crap too. Capaldi goes to hide from everyone, and that involves taking a tank from a different time period. Had enough of it now. That's 5 episodes in now, and that I have. This has been at it the best poor for me. I'm not watching it anymore. Capaldi can't do any more with this garbage script than what Smith did near his final run. Absolute garbage. I never thought I would see the day that I turned my back on Who. Don't tell Roger. Oh, sorry. Looking back, I enjoyed 3/4 of the last season because of Capaldi. But as you talk about Lewis Capaldi or Peter. Anyway, but when you get an episode where you don't like his performance and dislike everything else, it's time to get out. I'll still listen, though. Have a good one. I either knew Stitcher's pal. Oh, he didn't say that. I added that bit at the end.
Sounds like Jeff.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with it. It's just he mentioned it, and that's why it's come up in the search. So now we can go back to the stuff that came very recently.
Well, good afternoon, 20 megabytes, Andy here. It is 12:15 Sunday afternoon. We've just been to church and doing Sunday, about to take the lovely Dawn out for lunch as we build it. We're going to feed the duck somewhere. It's a nice day, it's going to be. And yesterday, of course, usual one, did the ironing and watched the Wedding of River song. And it's a glorious romp, isn't it? You know, it's absolutely mental. There's so much going on. You really don't understand what's going on. And there's so many bits of the past in this. There's Winston Churchill coming back, with Charles Dickens coming back. And, of course, with the Brigadier being referenced. Just the fact that sadly he'd gone. But this is one where you didn't know where it's going because, how is he going to kill the Doctor off? And then, of course, it comes to pass that it's the Tesselector. So, again, it's a reference back to the past, so something that happened before. And... how the Doctor manages to get time back on straight, but also how he disappears into the background. He said, he's getting too much attention. He needs to be not to be so obvious so that people won't come for him. And I think that really does help to reset the Doctor. I thought there were some good references with the way that he and River got married, and you have the question, and you find out the question is Doctor Who, but the answer, does he actually tell the answer? He says it to Melody, or River, beg your pardon. He says it to Amy. Anyone doesn't know it's Rory, but then Rory always was a bit, he was a bit left in the lurch. But no, this was good. It was good fun. It went really, really fast. And it really kept you thinking, what on earth is going on? What is going on here? And I think the reveal with the Tesselector was very, very well done. I thoroughly enjoyed that bit. And it puts it nicely for the way Doctor is going to have a future. I think he's going to be a lot darker than he was before. And so I think from that point of view, I think it was a very good story. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Totally bonkers. And there you go. Until next time, be safe.
I think he cut that off quickly because Zach was messing around in the background.
Yeah, you could hear.
Right, that's about it for feedback. Unless a certain counsellor dropped something into my inbox for the end of the show. We'll see what happens with that one. Let's see anything coming through on the live feed. Ooh! Okay, we've got Lillian Robbins saying, I liked this story. Y'all are too picky. Just watch and have fun. That's more or less what I said, Lillian. I was just picking out a couple of... So I don't know whether to do a... Oh, go on then. It's more or less saying what I said. Billy Kirkbright says, I don't recall... No, I can't do the accent myself. I don't recall ever seeing this story all the way through. That's not how you spell through, Billy. Through is Through. Is that the Australian way of spelling through?
Just the efficient way of writing it. No, that's all.
Okay, I'm being facetious. All attempts, I fell asleep. Oh, and they said that's his review with a winky eye emoji.
I don't blame him.
I will tell Billy, of course, that one of the things I'm promising convention goers for FantasyCon 3 is that he will return. Obviously, you have to pay for his own trip. But, so the next, that's it then for feedback. Unless, like I say, if anything drops in the interim. I was going to do Doctor Who news, but I forgot to type the URL in. It's nice actually to be able to do the show this week and not have to edit the last podcast we did, because I did it yesterday. Right, Doctor Who magazine.
I saw where it dropped this morning.
I beg your pardon?
I saw where it dropped into the feed this morning.
Doctor Who magazine special 63 showrunners, and it's I guess from its title it's talking about the showrunners of the show, because it has a load of names on the front. It's actually got a lovely colour picture actually of Verity Lambert with some monsters of the time, and it mentions Sheena Buck-Townsend, Shirley Cooklin, Janet Fielding, Judy Gardner, Fraser Hines, Warris, or is it Varys who sang? I think it's Warris actually.
It's Warris.
I just said right. Louise Jameson, Matthew Jacobs, John Leeson, Katie Manning, Marcus Wilson, and more. Who's this and more?
Who's more?
Oh,
yeah.
And more. And it says showrunners producing Doctor Who from 1963 to now. I don't remember John Leeson being producer of Doctor Who, but there you go. And, of course, Doctor Who magazine, I might have mentioned this last time, issue 588, featuring David Tennant and Elizabeth Sladen, with the title, We Love Sarah Jane. Bradford Who Charity Con 8. Did we talk about that last time? Probably did, because it's 1st of March on it. So not an awful lot of news. Anybody see the Red Nose Day Doctor Who stuff on it? Wasn't much. It was Lenny Henry regenerating into a Scottish version of the 14th Doctor.
Ian Kirk just mentioned that.
Yeah. There wasn't much else Doctor Who wise on it, but there was a lot of fun stuff to watch on the little cameo stuff on it.
When was Red Nose Day?
Beg pardon?
When was it?
Friday.
Okay, I didn't.
But
I don't
was really
know.
cold.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it because we went to the cinema on Friday, so I recorded it just
What
to
did you
fast forward through the bits where they try and raise money for the charity, and just watch the little special comedy bits that they put together. The funniest one was when they did the Traitors spoof with Dawn French, who did Claudia Winkleman, but Claudia Winkleman was actually around the table. And of course, when they had everybody with their hoods on, which they don't wear their hoods around the table on Traitors, because otherwise they'd know who the traitors were, wouldn't they? But the funny thing, of course, the best thing for me was when Ewan McGregor was around it, actually being Obi-Wan Kenobi. Very good. That was good. Anyway, so that's not much Doctor Who news. We see these little tidbits flying around the internet, but and what was the latest one that they mentioned? There was a bit of a rumour going around. Oh darn, I forgot what it was now. Anybody heard any rumours?
There was a trailer for the new Blu-ray set.
No.
The rumour is the Unit spin-off.
No, that's not it either. No. Nope. Can't remember.
That David Tennant's pregnant.
No. It's annoying, isn't it? There was something going around about it, but I forgot what it was. I was a bit disappointed, actually, the fact they haven't mentioned it on any of these Doctor Who news feeds. I should have a gossip section. Right, so that's that bit. I suppose we have got time to do the sponsors. As I say,
so who.co.uk
have accepted that their sponsorship money is going towards the 20 megabyte Doctor Who podcast special guest at FantasyCon this year for Lile Shabalala. And so I'm hoping to swing it so Valile actually sits with us. Well, not me, I'll be around about, but with Debbie and the people that will be looking after the Doctor Who zone, i.e. Lord of Time mini convention, where the 20 megabyte table and the TARDIS and all our cardboard cutouts and any other Doctor Who memorabilia that I can scrape together and to sit in that section of the convention. So I'm hoping for that, and I'll say it's very nice of Melinda to do that. In fact, if you go to the Lavazi page, I've got one here that says varsi.co.uk products, /products / seventh doctor umbrella seventh doctor Sylvester McCoy, as in dashes being hyphens. You get a page where it shows little pictures of the umbrella, for example, and other bits of, that is the umbrella, I beg your pardon, and a little video that says perfect gift for Doctor Who fans, and then people have sent the pictures of their umbrella in. I've got one of them. I used to open and close the curtains.
If you keep your head still, I can see the reflection in your glasses.
I've got one in behind me. I'm not going to go and get it, but I do love that umbrella. It has lasted rather well. It's unlike other umbrellas, it's actually quite robust. And of course, you can get the pullover and paisley scarves. You can't get the hat yet. I have to have a word with Min to get the little straw boater hat that the Seventh Doctor wears. In fact, they could actually turn themselves into official full Seventh Doctor cosplayers, cosplay suppliers, to be fair.
Everything else.
In fact, they could, mind you, probably have to get a license for that. So I was hoping to get the rest of the Sixth Doctor's outfit, having the behind me, you can't see it because it's in a bag, Alistair Pearson's Sixth Doctor coat, which is beautiful. It's very accurate, and I really enjoyed wearing it, especially while cuddling Katie Manning. There you go. So that is, of course, you know that Lavazzi, they regularly bump in offers, which I try to share on the 20 Megabyte Doctor Who Podcasts Facebook group, which you can join. I was thinking, Mary, actually, I know you're interested in Big Finish stuff, but I've been listening to audiobooks a lot recently, but I thought what I might do is put all my Big Finish audios into the iCloud. It's the thing where or an Apple thing where you can grab files off the internet and just put them on your phone and listen to them or view them. Or very useful, especially if I want to do a posh TikTok where I edit it on my computer, I can just put it on the iCloud and hoik it onto my phone and then edit it further in TikTok. So it's a very useful.
Is that a technical term? Hoik?
Yeah, hoik. Who won? And they have got latest products.
Whowon.co.uk.
That's reminded me about the comic relief thing. There was a cameo by a Dalek in a Eurovision song, a fake Eurovision Song Contest. Like a bit like the X Factor thing, where they get people in to sing and they're trying to get a job or the Eurovision Song Contest, and the Dalek came along and started singing. It was quite amusing, to be fair. Seeing a Dalek, a real Dalek, as in a Doctor Who prop Dalek, voiced by Nick Briggs. So that might be worth trying to get your hands on. Nick Briggs, he's the voice of the Daleks, Robert. Rick Niggs.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's also an executive producer for Big Finish.
No, he isn't. No. He's not, hang on. Where's that interview I did with him all those years ago? He's hang on, what's that? Fan fiction.
Years ago.
Professional fan fiction writer. There we are. Dalek's Ultimate Comic Strip Collection. I had a picture with him, actually. Me and Debbie had our picture taken with Nick. It's up on the wall somewhere.
The science fiction writer.
No, he's a professional fan fiction
Briggs
writer.
Impersonation.
Never mind. Empire Man, it's a Torchwood story, and if I've decided now that even if John Barrowman isn't in them, as long as a friend of the show, Gareth David Lloyd, it is in fact Torchwood. Or Eve Miles, who I met at Wales Comic Con, she's lovely. So if she's in it, then of course it counts now as Torchwood. War Doctor begins for He Who Fights with Monsters. Who voices the War Doctor in those stories?
It's this new guy now, isn't it?
Well, I can't think of his name.
He's a younger dude, isn't he?
Played Claudius.
What, Derek Jacobi?
Derek Jacobi, yeah.
But it's got a picture of John Hurt on the cover.
Oh, well, yeah.
He's talking about the War Doctor, not the...
the War Doctor, I'm sorry.
Not the War Master.
Of the Master, yeah, the War Master. No, the War Doctor is...
It's a younger guy. I think he does like an impersonation of John Hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't say on the description. It doesn't say although on the picture it's just tiny and you can't really read much of the text on it, it may indeed say who
Yeah,
did
you
it.
can make the text bigger.
You can't on that. It's a tiny,
on the
tiny
thumbnail.
a JPEG.
Yeah, thumbnail, wouldn't it?
Thumbnail, that's the word I was looking for. Coming soon, stuff like the Fourth Doctor 12.1, New Frontiers, and Eighth Doctor Time War 5 cassette. Can't be cassette. Oh, Cass. Sorry, Cass. I misread that. Diary of River Song 11. That's topical. Double one,
Diary
a
of
torture
River
story.
Song.
Double two, a torture story. These are just examples of all the things. If you go to the whoone.co.uk website,
So whoone.co.uk.
peruse their items.
.co.uk.
Yes. So I think I'm just going to check. I've got nothing else coming through. Ian Kirk said Lenny Henry regenerated on Red Nose. I said that.
Yeah, I told you he said that.
He regenerated into the 14th Doctor. Does that make mean the Tennant's back now as the 17th Doctor? I don't know.
Well, how many did they have in the what's the name?
They're having the what's the name?
The
the
Rowan Atkinson.
Oh yeah, no,
Curse
I was
of the
disappointed
Bad-
with
Curse
the
of the Bad
Blackadder
Blood.
thing. 'Cause
No.
although I love Tony Robinson, him sat in there doing a CBB story didn't work for me. There's a very small amount of comedy in that, but it was nice to see him dressed up as Baldrick. But I really wanted to see.
Oh, I saw that existed. I hadn't watched it yet.
Rowan Atkinson. Right, so moving on. There's what we watched this week. I haven't got any music for that. I should have, but I haven't.
Well, come
Right
up
then,
with something by
gonna
the
be-
next time.
What?
Come up with some music by the next time.
No.
The person
Drop it
who
in.
plays the War Doctor is Jonathan Carley.
Well
He
done,
voices
Mary.
the War Doctor.
There you go.
Well done. I'm impressed with that.
Ting!
Okay. So we've been watching or trying to watch other programs that we've recorded on the Skybox. Still behind on and haven't started loads of other stuff. I started watching that spin-off of Death in Paradise, which is Beyond Paradise, I think it's called. We've
Death
only
in
still
Hell?
watched episode 1. I want to watch episode 2 because my friend appears in it, but I haven't got round to it yet. We've been watching the end of Love Island when we've been able to get together, just me and Deb, and then
Goodness.
we've been watching the last 2 episodes of The Apprentice, which I love. We still adore. It's a family thing we all like watching, and we've just started watching Married at First Sight Australia, which is
Oh my
mad
goodness.
but
You're
good
subjecting
fun.
yourself to
For
that.
fun, that's right. Yes, it's very entertaining.
Whoa.
Who cares whether you like it or not? Thank you, Mr. Haynes. We do. So we're watching that at the moment. That's the stuff we watch as a family. But after the beautiful one has gone to bed, then I've run out of crime stuff to watch, unfortunately. So I'm tending to watch sort of genealogy programs. I still haven't got round to picking up Picard again. I must do it. I think it's going to be a state. I'm going to
Heresy.
completely run out of programs to watch other than that. And on YouTube, I've been watching a series that I quite like, and you won't like, I don't care, but I quite like, called Paternity Court, because it's not available. It popped up on TikTok, and I thought, oh, I like that judge. She's very nice looking or very bolshy. I quite like her. So I ended up finding it on YouTube.
Just
so
because
I've
you
been
like the
watching-
judge.
The lad, she's beautiful. I don't know what her name is. It's an American series called Paternity Court, where they just basically roast each other and find out who the father is or isn't of
Like
the
Judge Judy,
babies.
then.
Pardon?
It's like Judge Judy. Then.
It is, but it's also a mixture of Judge Judy and Jeremy Kyle. There's another program in America where there was a bloke, like a Jerry Springer type situation, where they would do the DNA results at the end of the episode. But it's what gets me is the way people nowadays name people. It's like you got the Tatalisha and sort of really weird names that don't really exist. They just made them up.
Yeah, exactly.
And
is that with 2 E's or 3?
they probably mix it up. It's like with the traditional names that they change the spelling of, like Lorraine, instead of Lorraine, they make it Lorane. A-Y-N-E or something like
Y-N-E,
that.
yeah.
Why, if you want to name somebody by a traditional, just use a traditional spelling. Because all they're going to do, if anybody says, what's my name? Oh, it's Lorraine, they're going to write it down in the way everybody expects it to be written down.
Exactly.
And the other thing they do is we seem to have run out of first names, so now everybody's calling everybody by surnames now. It's like, you can get Smith as a first name. What the hell's world coming to? There's so many names in history that aren't used anymore, that are real names. Why get a surname and use it as a first name? It's like Piers Morgan, Piers. And Morgan, in fact, is a first name now. It just baffles me. I bet you find there'll be somebody called Haynes, Robert.
Probably.
Haynes Roberts. You know. And there's certainly, Bartlett is a first name I've heard, Mr. Bartlett Sloane. So.
Yeah.
Bartlett Pears.
Yeah, I think it's a very much an American thing that's drifting into Britain now. We're using surnames as first names.
I don't know. I don't hear it.
You don't?
In America, no.
I do.
Well, I happen to have such a name.
You don't have such a name?
I have such a...
Yeah, Kirby
my first name was
can be
surname,
either.
Yes.
But that's fine. I think it's been Kirby as a first name for a woman or a man for many, many years. So I don't accept that one. But it's just it's sort of strange, isn't it? It's, like I said, it's like we've run out of first names. It's like Sheldon. I was talking about Sheldon Cooper. Sheldon's a surname, and now it's a first name. I don't know. Leonard, in fact, is a surname and a first name. I'm thinking of Big Bang Theory here.
Sheldon has been a name for ages.
I know.
I
accept that. But I'm thinking
I've known some older men that people call Shelley because their full name is Sheldon.
Yeah, I accept that. That's not so bad. But I'm talking about like traditional surnames like Gallagher or something like that. You're going to find there's going to be people with the name Lennon, right? That's a name. It's because of John Lennon. It's now become a first name.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like Lennox as well.
Yeah, it's true. I'm thinking Lennox. Pertwee Brown. That'd be. Baker. Anyway, so I just noticed this thing through picking up on programs like what's that? I just mentioned it. Oh, Paternity Court. The good thing about Paternity Court is quite short, so I can fill a small gap by just putting YouTube on and watching that. And like I say, the judge on it is quite loud, but she's very pretty. It's a nice ensemble as well.
To put up with.
It's quite a nice ensemble in that sort of court scene setup, because she doesn't preach at anybody. These people who don't know the parentage of their own children for one reason or another, but she just listens to their story. They have a little bicker about it. The bloke says, "I am not the father. I can't be because of this, that, and the other," and then the results are given. It's quite charming sometimes. The other thing I've been watching is
Sesame Street.
What did you say?
Sesame Street.
No, I did try watching American version of The Masked Singer, and what grabbed me was, no spoilers. If you want to watch the series, spoilerific moment just about coming up, so you might want to skip forward. But one of the Masked Singers, and it sounded just like him, but I thought they're not going to stick him in a blooming costume, was Kermit the Frog. I thought, hang on, that's weird. That's a hand inside a puppet inside a costume.
Oh, they've done that before, yeah.
But that got me into watching it. And the other one of that series that was quite funny was, again, spoilers, was Danny Trejo was one of them, and he's got a backstory that's quite amazing.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
But Isabella met him and had a picture taken with him at Wales Comic Con. He was a very nice man. She was quite taken by what a nice chap he was. So movies. Last week we went to Cineworld Secret Unlimited screening, where you go to the cinema and you don't know what the hell you're watching, but you hope it's something good. But you have to guess probably it's going to be something that's coming out within the next few weeks after that date. So we sat down, and Isabella was convinced it was going to be a film called Pearl. We sat down there, and went through the adverts, and then the BBFA thing came up on the screen, and it said Dungeons and Dragons, and everybody went,
Ah.
we were going, yes, that's more like it. And we sat down and watched really. And the unusual thing about this is the trailers that we've seen for Dungeons and Dragons have been very corny and not particularly good. But it's one of those things you think, well, yeah, I don't know, this looks a bit corny and rubbish, but I'll watch it anyway. But the film itself is such good fun. It's got the same sort of vibe as Guardians of the Galaxy. That sort of
that's good to know.
light-hearted adventure, good special effects, good cast, some unknown people probably from America. The only person, when Dave Simon, friend of the show, who is an extra in various things, he said, you know the bloke who's in Bridgerton that's also in that film, the first series of Bridgerton, he's in it, and Dave says that he's not a very nice person at all. I said to Dave, that puts him off watching. I said, well, don't worry, he's not in it that much, you know. But it's got some good actors in it. It's really, really good. So we enjoyed that. And this week we went to see the new Shazam film.
How was that?
Pardon? What did you say?
How was it?
Again, I felt it was slightly better than the first one, although the first one's a good introductory thing.
Oh, I like the first
There's
one.
more comedy and lightheartedness, but more also gravitas and drama in it. And I do think that Zachary, what's his name? Zachary, damn, I forgot his name. The bloke who plays Shazam, I can't remember his surname, Zachary. Somebody will tell me in a minute. I thought he's very good at playing somebody who's actually a teenager. But I mean, I don't know if I get Isabella down to give her 10 pence. I thought I'll text her see if she wants to say anything about it. Because I know she watches lots of stuff. Bear with, I'll just text her. What am I saying to her? Oh yeah.
Shazam.
What do we call this part of the show? What we watched this week?
What we watched this week?
This week, question mark. Let's see if that. She hasn't. Oh, she's actually looked some of her WhatsApp messages. Oh, not that one. No. Last. I'll send it to her via Messenger. Copy. Messenger. This is good podcasting, is it, everybody?
Yes, about to say that. Riveting podcasting.
It's just like having Kirby on the show. Only joking, Kirby. Right, there we go. So I've sent her 2 messages. Hopefully she'll respond. Probably not, to be fair, because she's got her online friends that she has more time for. Right, so like I say, Shazam. Yeah, so it's got a bit of an ensemble cast. It's nice to see Helen Mirren, obviously the last of the sort of
She's in everything these days.
knighted British thespians that's appearing in a Marvel or a DC or anything like that production, because they've all done it apart from her. And is there one other that's knighted that hasn't done any yet? Jacoby hasn't really been anything big, is he? But anyway, yeah, so she plays one of the sort of god characters in it, and she's great. Yeah, it's fun. It feels like a Marvel film actually, because it's the DC films tend to be a lot darker for me, apart from
that's true, yeah.
the masterpiece that is the Suicide Squad, which is absolutely superb.
Yeah,
But
I enjoyed that last
I
one.
recommend it. It's good, and both films, if you get a chance to see the Dungeons and Dragons film, it's great. I mean, Chris Pine is very much
Glad to know that.
channeling the Star Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy, but he is very good in it. Of course, you've got Hugh
But now they
Grant
both
as well.
start Chris and P, the surname.
Yes,
Isn't it?
and of course anything with Hugh Grant playing a slimy bloke with his usual well-known sort of poshish sort of British accent, because more recently he's been doing all sorts of funny accents in films and TV shows. It's worth watching in itself. Some nice little cameos here and there anyway, worth looking out for. Can I tell you one of them? It's not a spoiler, because he does tend to do little cameos here and there, but it made Isabella gush a little bit. So if you don't want to know who makes a special cameo, skip forward 15 minutes. Bradley Cooper plays a tiny little sort of dwarf type, elf type character in it.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, very good. I'm sure oh yeah, The Whale. Had I watched The Whale? I watched that ages ago. No, we've already talked about The Whale. That, again, brilliant performance by Bradley Cooper. Sorry, what's his name?
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. Same letter. It started with the same letter. That's why. But I must admit, the results of the Oscars were far more agreeable to us as a family than the results of the BAFTAs. I think they got it right because, like I said to you before, Michelle Yeoh. She should have got the BAFTA. She got the Oscar. Good. And, of course,
yes, good.
The wonderful Jamie Lee Curtis, for her career, deserves an Oscar. She certainly deserved an Oscar for that incredible performance in that film. So, yeah, great results of the Oscars this year. Okay, that's as far as I can remember, that's what I've watched. Oh, nearly forgot. Books, yes, sorry. James Corden's autobiography, absolutely brilliant book. It doesn't come enough to present day, so it doesn't end at the point where
Talk
he's
about
gone
Doctor
to. He does mention he's in it, but it ends at the point where he has his son or his child or whatever it is. So it doesn't go to America. He hasn't done Into the Woods or anything like that. But it's a charming biography of his life, absolutely brilliant. I would recommend that. I'm currently listening to the Alan Bates Diaries at the moment. So those two things are very, very worth, especially James Corden's book, very well worth a read. And Robert Haynes.
Yeah, tonight I watched The Whale, which I really loved.
It's an incredible piece of work.
Yeah, I mean the makeup and prosthetics on Brendan Fraser are brilliant, and just well acted, and very, very sad film.
But it's incredible that it's a movie on one set. It's like a piece of drama.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
It just did his Farman or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a stage drama on in a movie.
Well, it was a stage show. That's
but
right.
That's probably why it works so well. But it's an incredible piece of work. It really is good.
Yeah. So I really recommend that. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Just watching Mandalorian Picard.
I haven't picked up on that yet, so no spoilers for Mandalorian, please, because it's one of those things.
No, I won't give any spoilers, just to say that I've really been enjoying them.
Yeah. Clarkson's fine.
I almost gave a spoiler for Mandalorian a few minutes ago, but I decided against it.
Good.
Oh, okay. But, really been enjoying those. And The Last of Us, finished watching that. And looking forward to season 2 of that. I thought that was very, very, very well acted. And, just really good show. I really recommend that. And as for reading, I've just started the biography of Terry Notion. And I've been enjoying that so far as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Robert. Anything coming through on the live feed? No. Kirby.
Let's see. I
think they've all gone to sleep.
Yeah. Mary? Right, that's it.
What did she say?
She said that she thinks they've all gone to sleep.
So, caught up with The Mandalorian, and then the other day had a massive catch-up with young Sheldon with The Geek Daughter. And we watched like 7 episodes all.
Oh my goodness!
It's a cracking series, though, isn't it?
And let's see, movie-wise, for some reason I watched The Goonies.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah, no, I love The Goonies. I was watching.
There's a bloke from The Goonies who's in Everything Everywhere All at Once, by the way,
yes,
Kirby.
Exactly.
You probably didn't know that.
Kwai Han or whatever.
Yeah, he was
That's
good
what
too.
made me seek that one out. And then the other night I was just scrolling through YouTube, and you know how they give you examples of movies to. Here's a movie you can watch for free with ads.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, all right, why not? Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, the Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell.
Okay.
I had not seen that in ages, and it was good. It was funny, and so. And,
I've never seen it.
Oh, well, it's at least here it's available for free on YouTube. And what else did I watch? That's pretty much it. Reading wise, I finished John Varley's Steel Beach and have moved on to the next one in his 8 World series, which is Irontown Blues.
Marvellous.
No,
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
And before I move on to Mary, I'll just point out that I may have mentioned on the last show that we were going to go to Basingstoke Comic-Con as my birthday present because of the Umbrella Academy stars that were going to be there. They all pulled out.
And just let me know if you have
we
to
got
go
a
through
refund.
roundabout.
What? I do what?
If you have to go through a roundabout to get there. See, Robert knows what I'm talking about.
I know what he's talking about.
Something to do with
It's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
How wonderful. Anyway, so all the main Umbrella Academy stars pulled out, and like I say, David Tennant's only on the Sunday, and I haven't got that day off for some reason or other. Yeah, they got people I haven't heard of there, like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Tom Sturridge, Ruth Connell, Rob Benedict. I haven't heard of any of these people. Mark Pellegrino, Vivian Achampong.
I've heard of him.
Would you say?
Obviously, Mark Pellegrino.
Supernatural, apparently. I don't know what that is
I'm
either.
sure if you looked up some of their names, you'd figure out that you're related to all of them in some way or another.
I don't know. I'm really interested in people I'm related to that I've heard of. Those are these. Elena Huffman, sorry, never heard of her. Michael Shanks, never heard of him. Rachel Luttrell. Julian Richings I have heard of because he was in Umbrella Academy, but he's like a bit character. Rainbow Sun Franks again, no. Joe Flanagan, no. Gary Jones, no. Never heard of any of them. So we got a refund on our tickets. So that's it for that. I've got a couple of irons in the fire in regards to guests for FantasyCon, but it's proving to be a bit difficult getting answers out of people at the moment. But other than that, it's going all right. And this is the bit everybody's been waiting for, and everybody that apparently has fallen asleep will now wake up for. Mary.
Well, in terms of my regular watching, I watch British soaps. I think they're more realistic than American soaps are. So I watch EastEnders and I watch Coronation Street.
Don't say that's no recommendation of American soaps, I'm afraid, Mary.
American soaps always center around rich.
That's true.
Yeah, rich, well-placed people. They're lawyers, they're doctors. And they live in these glorious houses and apartments, and I mean, stuff you can't relate to. Whereas British soaps, those are everyday people, and I can relate to a lot of the problems that they go through. And I learn a lot about British culture. Bacon buddies and things like that.
I like bacon. Fish finger butties. That's what you want.
Fish fingers and brown sauce and all that stuff I learned through these soaps. In terms of a series that I've started, I'm more than started. I'm almost halfway through. It's called The Wire, and it's American hoodlums, drug dealers, and the police. That deal with them. Even though I don't always understand what they're talking about, because it's all, the hood and the bro language, and it's I don't get a lot of that, but their meaning comes through anyway, even though I don't get the words. And what always strikes me is when something it's very well written and very well acted. And whenever I encounter a series like this, where I'm really admiring, the acting and all that, and I start looking up some of the actors to see, okay, what else have they done? I'm always shocked at how many of them are British. One of the main actors in it is Idris Elba. But you would never know that he was anything but a Brooklyn downtown drug dealing hoodie. You just never would.
Have dialect coaches. That's right.
Can I do one of those? I'm pretty sure when Kirsty was on the show and somebody said something similar about that sort of scenario with. It's called acting. Sorry, I just had to that one.
The difference that I find pretty consistently between American actors and British actors is British actors have gone through a lot of training, and they're able to really become other characters, whereas American actors tend to play the same kind of part all the time because they have whatever it is they got famous doing.
Yeah,
and that's all
you got a point there, because on the Jonathan Ross show last night, they had Liam Neeson on there, and he's played all sorts of different types of parts. So you got. I know
yeah, but not lately. He's been playing the same bloody part.
Well,
Yeah,
no, but over his
he's
career,
still a
he was talking about his length of his career. How many films? He's just done his 100th film. So he has played all sorts of different, even in voice acting and stuff like that. But what surprised me the most about him is he's just turned 70. He looks about 50. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. He keeps fit, doesn't he?
Yeah, but even Nissen is settled into a type, that he plays.
He has now, yeah, I agree. He plays tough people, doesn't he? Now?
Guy kicks ass.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then speaking of Idris Elba, tonight I'm going to be watching a movie version of the Luther series. It's called Luther, the Rising Sun or something.
I've heard negative things about that, so it'd be interesting to hear what you think of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am an Idris Elba fan.
Have you seen that film he did recently where he played a genie?
A genie?
Yeah. Carry on, I'll find it for you, and then I can recommend it.
Okay, yeah, let me know. He plays a lot of minor parts in American films. So I don't know if he's just not broken through or whatever, but I think he's a wonderful actor. In terms of reading, I am midway through a book, The Space Pirates. And really enjoying it. That's one of the lost stories, isn't it? That's never been made.
They've got an episode.
Well, I mean, it's never been
one
made,
episode out of 6.
but it's lost. We can't watch it.
I've got the name of that film for you, Mary.
Yes.
It's 3,000 Years of Longing with Tilda Swinton. By the way, Tilda Swinton is somebody I'm related to, if you wanted to know that, Kirby.
1,000 years of what?
3,000 Years of Longing.
Of Longing.
He plays a genie in it. It's very good.
Okay.
I liked it anyway. Very good film. He's very good in it as well.
Well, so I said I'm reading The Space Pirates, and I'm really enjoying it. It's well written.
It shouldn't have taken you that long to read, though, Mary. It's not that long.
Well, no, but see, those kind of books, the easy to read, I kind of wait till I go to bed at night, and I just kind of read them till I go to sleep.
Read a chapter.
So, like a chapter at a time, But it's good. And with Big Finish, I'm in the middle of a very lengthy
Milo Clancy
box set called it's the Fifth Doctor, and it's called 42. And it's the Doctor is kind of slipping around his time stream. So we're meeting the Brigadier from back in the Brigadier not recognizing him because he only remembers him from the Second Doctor time. He's ignorant of Adric's death. We deal with Turlo and with Tegan, and it's somewhat confusing. So I'm actually listening to it for a second time because this jumping around in his time stream, it is kind of difficult to follow. But it's a really good story. It's shaping up very well.
Is that a new one, Mary?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that a new one or an old one?
Yeah, it's a new one. It's the Fifth Doctor, 42. It's called the Auton Infinity because he's encountering the Autons. Yeah, it's newer. I wouldn't say it's brand new, but it's newer. Yeah.
Because I only heard that first set that they did with Adric, the iterations of I and whatever it was.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that's not part of the newer box sets. The iterations.
No, that's
goes back to the monthlies.
That's the first one that they did when he came to Matthew Waterhouse came to do Big Finish.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's an old one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, that's all really. I spend a lot of time watching nursery rhymes with my grandson, but I don't think you would.
And Sesame Street.
and that's another thing is that the best nursery rhyme programs that we watch over and over are either British made or Australian made. There's a cartoon character called Bluey that's very popular.
Are you watching Bluey?
And he's Australian, And I read an article that American parents are getting very upset because their kids are watching Peppa Pig. And so the kids are talking in a British accent.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, I love it.
That's like You know how in America you say banana, right? And we say banana over here. And somebody didn't like that the Wiggles were popular in America and that their niece or something started saying banana instead of banana.
Banana, yeah.
Are the Wiggles still a thing?
Yeah, they're still around, but they're another incarnation.
I remember when my kids were very young, taking them to a Wiggles concert.
Wow.
I took Alicia to a Tweenies concert. The Tweenies? That was the thing? Yeah, I think a Tweenies concert back in the day when Wembley Stadium was being demolished. Got front row seats and everything.
Personal question. How far along is your daughter?
Good point. About 18 weeks, something like, I don't know.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
all. Okay.
It's due the end of August. So however many weeks it is between.
Yeah.
Then, I don't know.
And she's doing well, I assume?
Yeah, she's banging on and on about it. You can't speak to her without the word pregnant coming up or baby or, she does talk about it a lot.
Oh,
I mean a lot. She's convinced it's a boy.
Oh.
And if it is a boy, they're going to give it a surname as its first name. Surprise, surprise, as the way it is at the moment.
Oh.
And that surname is the same surname of a very camp comedian from the 1970s called Larry Grayson. Anyway, back to Idris Elba. Grayson is in fact the most popular boy's name in Britain in 2021, so it's not surprising.
I think it's Oliver over here.
Oliver, that was in Britain several years ago. Idris Elba's real name is Idrissa Acuna Elba OBE. The OBE bit came in a bit later on.
The OBE, right?
Yeah.
OBE, well, for good reason.
Not Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he's quite. I don't know if you're familiar with the Marvel movies. He played a character in Thor's sort of films mainly, which got killed off. And then he had a cameo at the end of the last Thor film, I think. And
I don't even remember.
That seems to be what he's limited to here in America, because he was also in Pacific Rim, but he played this captain that also got killed off.
But yeah, he was in the earlier Thor films. He was more prominent.
Star Trek.
He was the guard of some bridge or something like that in the earlier Thor films. But his character got killed off by Thanos at some point.
Yeah.
But then he cropped up in the DC universe as a completely different character, and. But then he went back to do this cameo. But I think it's the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's now working for DC. I can't remember his name now. So I think that's where that comes from. But it does say here that he's apparently in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is quite incredible considering the character's dead. And maybe he's playing a different character.
Of
course, everybody...
It's timey-wimey.
Everybody remembers him as the baddie in the third Star Trek movie with Chris Pine as Captain Kirk? No?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, he was the baddie
Was
in
it
that.
the second one? I don't know.
It's a good point. I have to look it up now. For God's sake, Kirby. I thought you knew everything.
Oh, something happened a few days ago there in Britain that I was a little bit disappointed that when Brian May was knighted, he wasn't knighted by the Queen.
Very funny.
He missed out there.
Yeah, but it looked good in the headline of the paper we had. It said, King knights the Queen.
Yes.
Or King knights Queen, or something like that.
Yeah.
Newspapers love that sort of thing, don't they?
Yeah, they were hoping for that. I mean, I'm hoping that Leeds United get relegated, not because I particularly dislike Leeds United, but it would create a joke in which detectives are looking in the Premier League for team from Yorkshire but found no leads. That sort of joke. Yeah. That's not the actual. It's that's based on the joke of what I will write if Leeds get relegated. But they won 4-2 at the weekend, so it doesn't look like they are going to get relegated now. I can't find it now. I know he was in a Star Trek film. All right, I'm going to have to Google that now. What's his name again? It's Idrissa Acuna Elba. Should I Google that with Star Trek and see what we get? Would you say Beyond? Idrissa, Acuna, Elba, Star.
Is it Star Trek Beyond or the net?
Beyond. There you go.
The last one.
Yeah, he was the baddie in Beyond.
I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then, of course, Chris Hemsworth was in one of the Star Trek
He was in
films
the
as well.
first one of the J.J. Abrams one.
Yeah.
He played Pike, actually, didn't he? Was it Pike?
No.
He played Christopher Pike.
Must have been a young Christopher Pike. Oh, no, he played Kirk's dad, I think.
Oh, Kirk's dad. Yeah.
Chris-
I know something.
Chris Hemsworth, isn't it? Hemsworth Star Trek. Hang on. Let's see what it says. It says, we are running over a little bit. George Kirk he played, so I got that one right. I'm going to give myself a...
Ding!
Right, just make sure before we go that nothing's coming through on the... No, there isn't. All right, have we got any viewers? Yes, we have. My God. Next time, I can't remember the title of the story, Kirby, I'm afraid.
The
No, I
Lion, the
haven't
Witch,
got...
and the Wardrobe.
The Doctor, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I was hoping it was going to be the next
no,
one.
it's what is it called?
The Doctor, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No.
No? Okay.
The Doctor,
Rubbish,
the Widow,
rubbish.
and the Wardrobe.
Doctor, the Widow,
Rubbish,
and the
the
Wardrobe.
rubbish.
Yeah.
The rubbish, and the rubbish.
I'm not going to say it's
the most rubbish.
the worst Christmas special ever. I'm going to look it up.
When I mentioned that 2 hours ago, someone said there was a worse one.
Was it?
There's a worst one?
Oh, there's some bad ones. There's some pretty bad ones out there.
That's not a good
that's
one, but
true.
I'm not.
This
I
one-
still
this-
feel, guys. I still feel that I'm going to get some enjoyment out of it, simply because I love Matt Smith.
As I said earlier, and as whoever it was I read, there is always something good to find in any Doctor Who story.
Yeah, the title music.
It says here on this is on IMDb, right? This is what it's listed. It says director Farron Blackburn, writers Stephen Moffat, Sidney Newman. How the bloody hell did Sidney Newman write this episode? How long has he been dead?
I think it's a bit of wishful thinking there.
It says creator uncredited. Well, that's not a writer, is it? Yeah, cool. They're seeing who's in it. So if anybody that we didn't know, Alexander Armstrong's in it. Of course he is. Wow, I like Alexander.
Yeah, I
Armstrong.
remember that.
Bill Bailey's in that.
Who's
That's before
that?
he won Strictly.
So
Who's Alexander Armstrong?
Yeah.
He presents Blooming Pointless, and he was the computer in Sarah Jane Adventures. You know, the thing on the wall that
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith. Yeah. Who's Alexander Armstrong? Sacrilege.
next week.
Yeah, next week I'm fairly confident, unless something happens that I'm not unaware of, that British summertime begins, which will all
so we will
lose
be
an
back
hour's
in
sleep on Saturday night.
So that means it'll be 2 o'clock for me.
All our clocks go
back to
forward
normal.
by 1 hour. So as of this time next week, it'll now be 10:15 in the evening rather than 9:15.
And I'd be going to bed.
Yeah. But well, it's not that now, so we've got a week to set ourselves up for losing an hour's sleep on a night we'd rather not. But until
I had a lot of trouble when we had the time change here.
You don't
'Cause
say.
I'm getting older.
That's why we don't have it here in Western Australia.
So until next time, thank you for listening, watching, taking part in the show, those people that did. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye, Fancy Pants.
Bye.
Scarecrow.
20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast is an APV Services production sponsored by whowon.co.uk and lavazi.co.uk. We are a proud member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. Doctor Who is a trademark of the BBC. No copyright infringement intended.